So, oh, you know, you're limited. Yeah.
Participate in person. Instructions for providing public comment have been provided in advance and are also included in the agenda packet. Members of the public participating remotely should ensure their microphone is muted when not in use. Any member of the public calling into this meeting by telephone can press *6 to mute and unmute. All telephone participants should identify themselves prior to speaking. SCAG encourages all members of the public to participate in its meetings. We are committed to holding meetings accessible to people with disabilities. For members of the public requiring ADA accommodation, please call 213-236-1895. SCAG offers free interpretation services for members of the public needing information in another language. Please call 213-236-1895. The meeting will now begin.
To ensure we have a quorum of members present, please insert your smart cards in your communicator keypad. The meeting of the Regional Council is now called to order. If we can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Ryan, can you lead us?
Thank you, Chair. As we prepare to celebrate our nation's 250th birthday, please rise if you are able and join me in the pledge. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ryan, thank you. Members, if you have not already done so, please insert your smart cards in your communicator keypad. Thank you. Clerk, can you confirm if we have a quorum?
Mr. President, we do have a quorum.
Thank you. Board Counsel Duran, do we have any members participating via ADA or Just Cause?
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. President. We have two requests, one for each. Mayor Navarro from Colton has requested to participate using the Americans with Disabilities Act process. We typically do that. And then Supervisor Wagner from Orange County has requested to participate using the Just Cause exemption under the Brown Act. We've determined that both gentlemen meet the standards, and at your discretion, they can participate.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Just a quick question though. How are they going to vote? So
The clerk typically calls their names after everyone has used their voting pads.
thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I will now open the public comment period of the meeting. Staff, have we received any written public comments?
We have indeed, Mr. President. Prior to yesterday's 5 p.m. deadline, SCAG received 153 comments via email. And then after the 5 o'clock deadline, an additional 3 were received. All of those comments relate to action item 1 on today's agenda. There were no public comments on non-agenda items that were received. Those comments were transmitted to the members of the Regional Council yesterday afternoon as per protocol and posted to the website.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will now close the public comment period for this matter not listed on the agenda. Staff, do we need to review and prioritize any agenda items?
Not at this time, Mr. President.
Thank you. Our first item is reports from our policy committees. I will call on the chair of each committee to deliver their reports. First, this is Honorable Rocky Rhodes, Chair of the Community Economic and Human Development Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, the CEHD committee reviewed 2 informational items. The first provided a presentation on our committee's outlook and future agenda items. And thereafter, the committee received 2 presentations on projects funded through REAP 2.0's housing infill on private lands, or the HIP program. The HIP program provided $8 million to projects that support infill development. First, Sergio Melchor, he provided a presentation on Culver City's Fox Hills specific plan, and Michael Dietz, housing planning supervisor, provided a presentation on San Fernando's comprehensive housing element implementation program. And that concludes my report.
Sir, thank you. Appreciate that. Next is the Honorable Rick Dennison, Chair of the Energy Environmental Committee.
Thanks, Mr. President. Yeah, thank you very much. So today at the EEC, we had 1 action item and 3 information items and a lot of lively discussion during the entire meeting. First, we approved the release of the draft transportation conformity analysis as part of the draft Federal Transportation Improvement Program and the draft Connect SoCal 2024 Amendment 2 for public review and comment. Then we moved on to our first information item, which was outlook and future agenda items for the upcoming fiscal year. And once again, most of you have read that, and we'll hear about it today. President Marquez's goals for the years 26 and 27 is included in that. This was followed by an introductory presentation on the current state and future of potential vehicle-to-grid technologies to advance energy grid resilience. A lot of discussion on the V2G, which is your vehicle to the grid. So a lot on that. Included in the agenda agenda for that meeting is very good information. Finally, we received a presentation on SoCal Greenprint tool, which we've been working on for quite a few years, and many of the members here remember, which was launched in early June. I wanted to note to everyone that there will be a Toolbox Tuesday on September 15th from 12:30 to 2:30. We'll provide a more in-depth overview on the tool. It'll also be recorded for anyone that's unable to make it. That was probably one of the best conversations that we've had and work we've done for a long time on the Greenprint, so starting to come together. Also, I'd like to say thank you to 2 new members. We have Ed Chin. Ed Chin was very involved in the meeting today, comments and participation from Temple City. So thank you, Ed. And also Victoria Garcia from San Fernando, online attendance and also very involved in the meeting. So I'd like to all welcome them with a round. Thank you. And one last item is today you've seen all the students. We had 2 of the interns, and they take a moment at the mic to introduce themselves and some of their objectives from their attendance, and it was very well received. I'm glad to see these young kids in our meetings interested in the things that we're working on. That's it, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. And let me go to this amazing gentleman, Honorable Mike T. Judge, Chair of the Transportation Committee.
Thank you for that introduction.
You know, he paid me.
This
He
is my
paid me.
favorite part of the SCAG meetings because I have to read. And you look at me, you know I don't like to read. The Transportation Committee took action to forward 3 items to this esteemed body for approval. The 2027 FTIP and Draft Connect SoCal 2024 Amendment Number 2 will be released to the public for review and comment as we continue to implement the region's Connect SoCal plan when we work closely with our members to ensure plan represents conditions on the ground. The Transportation Committee forwarded the SCAG toll credit and TDC policy to the Regional Council for approval. The committee recommended the Regional Council approve and release the Last Mile Freight Program, Measure 2.2, Invest Clean Rebate Program announcement. These items will continue to support members and stakeholder agencies as we implement the region's sustainable transportation vision through Connect SoCal. Lastly, the committee heard 2 informal items. First, on Transportation Committee Outlook and future agenda items. Presentation was provided by Annie Nam. The committee's outlook was discussed previously as part of SCAG's annual EAC retreat in June. And the second one was the Road to LA 28, Transportation Demand Management Strategy, was the final informational item the committee received. We look forward to continuing the work to support LA 28. And because we are Independence Day adjacent, I believe the conversation was light. Thank you.
Good job, Mike. Thank you. Our first action item is SB 79 approach methodology. And before we start, I want to go to our attorney, Mr. Duran.
Thank you, Mr. President. As indicated earlier, SCAG has received multiple public comments in writing with respect to this item. As expected, we also have many members of the public who are here with us today who would like to address the Regional Council, as well as people who are online. And so to accommodate that process, Mr. President, I'm going to ask that we all follow a standard procedure that will make things go much more smoothly. First, Ms. Carvajal will give the staff report, and then we'll move over to public comment. We have the cards that have been submitted. And then while Ms. Carvajal is giving her her report, be very helpful if those of you who are online who wish to offer public comment could raise your hands so the clerk can put you in the queue and we can prepare to receive public comment at the appropriate time. Mr. President, with your permission, I would recommend that we limit the time because it looks like we're going to have at least a couple of dozen public commenters. And so 1 minute, I think, would be appropriate, but it's at your discretion.
Sounds good to me. A minute.
Okay. If there are no questions, I think we're ready to go.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Mrs. Carvajal?
Checking my watch to check the time, so it's still good morning. Good morning, President, Regional Council members. Once again, my name is Elizabeth Carvajal. I'm the Deputy Director of Land Use at SCAG, and the item before you is the Senate Bill 79 Approach and Methodology. The action before you is a recommendation that the Regional Council approve the Senate Bill 79 Approach and Methodology. In my presentation, I will be providing an overview of Senate Bill 79. I'll highlight the roles and responsibilities of the various governmental agencies that are involved in the statute. I'll go over our approach and methodology, highlight the corrections that we have incorporated, and the major themes that we've heard from stakeholders. I'll talk about our stakeholder engagement to inform this process and then wrap up with next steps. So Senate Bill 79 was signed by the governor in October of 2025. It is focused on streamlining and increasing housing development at eligible TOD stops and zones. The statute establishes TOD tiers that are dependent on transit infrastructure and intensity, development standards for housing, implementation options for jurisdictions, effective dates, and importantly for the conversation today, a requirement that metropolitan planning organizations or MPOs like SCAG develop a map for our region. In terms of roles and responsibilities, the California Department of Housing and Community Development, or HCD, is responsible for providing guidance and overall oversight of the statute. MPOs like SCAG are responsible for the map development of eligible TOD stops and zones, and jurisdictions are responsible for local level implementation. So now moving on to the approach and methodology. This is the technical basis for the SB 79 map for the SCAG region. I want to emphasize that our methodology was very much legally constrained within the bounds of the statute, HCD's clarifications that they issued in March of 2026. Additionally, we received additional clarifications from HCD last week on June 25th as it relates to projects with a locally preferred alternative that we have incorporated and the technical implementation steps necessary to implement the statute and the HCD clarifications. I want to note that the methodology is attached to your staff report. It's in red line. The red lines that you see are the corrections we are recommending from what was shared with the CEHD at the June meeting. So these are the terms that are included in the methodology. They're not all of the terms within the statute, but are those that required further clarification that we felt were important. These are also terms that are really critical to the map development. So they are what is included in the methodology. And I'll go through each one of them one by one. So starting off with Urban Transit County Passenger Rail Station. Step one to figure out if SB 79 applies is to first determine whether you are in an urban transit county. SB 799 applies in urban transit counties, which are those that have more than 15 passenger rail stations. The HCD clarification clarified those over 15 stations have to be operational. As such, today, the only urban transit county in the SCAG region is Los Angeles County. Orange County will become an urban transit county when the OC streetcar opens and is available for revenue service. TOD stops is another important term. So once you know if you're in an urban transit county, we then look at the different transit stops to figure out which align with the SB 79 definition of TOD stops. So TOD stops are major transit stops that are served by heavy rail, very high or high frequency commuter rail, light rail or bus service that has full-time dedicated lanes and peak frequency of 15 minutes or less. Additionally, TOD stops within SB 79 include planned projects on the environmental side and on the funding side. So on the environmental side, the letter we received from HCD last week indicated that we are required to map projects with a locally preferred alternative. as context, our original methodology assumed we would map projects with full environmental clearance, and from our perspective, that was in alignment with the clarifications we received from HCD in March. However, they have provided additional clarification last week that notes that we must map projects with a locally preferred alternative. Additionally, we must map projects that have construction funding in the Federal Transportation Improvement Program, or FTIP, and this is clarified in the HCD clarifications in March. I also want to emphasize that projects that are not in the Regional Transportation Plan or the RTP after January 1st, 2026 will not be mapped unless they're Tier 1 projects, and I'll get into the tiers in a sec. This is in the statute, and that bus service is ineligible as a TOD stop for counties that become urban transit counties after July 1st, 2026. So each of the TOD stops in SB 79 is either a Tier 1 stop or a Tier 2 stop. A Tier 1 stop has the highest development intensities and is a major transit stop that must be served by heavy rail or very high frequency commuter rail with at least 72 daily trains in both directions. Tier 2 stops are also major transit stops that have to be served by light rail, high frequency commuter rail with at least 48 trains in each direction, and bus service that aligns with the Public Resources Code identified here. Our map includes the TOD stops in LA County that are eligible under SB 79, and then we included a 200-foot, quarter-mile, and half-mile buffer around all of the stops. However, we have made a correction. In cities that have less than 35,000 people, we dropped the half-mile buffer, and I'll describe that when I get into the corrections. And also want to flag that parcel level eligibility and SB 79 applicability is determined by local jurisdictions. So for bus service, eligible bus service and under SB 79 must first be a major transit stop, and it has to be either a bus rapid transit, BRT, or the intersection of two major bus routes with a frequency of service of 20 minutes or less during the morning or afternoon peak. Additionally, SB 79 includes more stringent criteria that requires that this bus service have full-time dedicated lanes and provide service frequencies of 15 minutes or less during the morning and afternoon peak. When looking at dedicated lanes, I want to flag that from SCAG's interpretation, if a dedicated lane allows for a bicycle lane or a right turn lane, we would still consider that to be a dedicated lane. The HCD clarifications note that a dedicated lane has to be adjacent to a TOD stop, and so we are defining adjacency as being in close proximity. So for example, if you have the TOD stop here, the dedicated lane starts or ends across the intersection, we would consider that to be adjacency. However, if you have TOD stop here, the dedicated lane starts or ends a block away, that would not be adjacent. Commuter rail. From our perspective, there is a distinction between how commuter rail frequency is defined within the statute and the HCD clarifications that were issued in March. This is important because the frequency of commuter rail determines whether a stop qualifies as Tier 1 or Tier 2. In the statute, commuter rail frequency is described as being based on a commuter rail service, A meaning one from our interpretation. However, the HCD clarifications in March noted that it's based on multiple commuter rail services at the station, which means you're looking at the cumulative, the stacked, the addition of all the rail services at the stop to determine the frequency. Our map aligns with the HCD clarifications, meaning we have mapped the commuter rail stops that are based on the HCD clarification and the commuter rail cumulative service. But our map does include the text box you see on the top right-hand corner for those particular stations, flagging where there is this distinction for local jurisdictions awareness. I also want to note that the frequency is calculated at the station level and that we had to look back 3 years. And if any time in the last 3 years, the station hit those numbers, it needs to be mapped. This is more for information. There isn't any clarification here, but I've been talking about a lot of rail categories, so I want you to know which ones I'm talking about. For heavy rail, we're looking at LA Metro B and D lines. For light rail, LA Metro A, C, E, and K lines. For commuter rail, it's Aero, Metrolink, and Pacific Surfliner. So these again are the rail categories in the SCAG region. Next up is pedestrian access points. These are the points that are utilized to access the stations and are the center point for how we identify the stop and then build the radius from. So these are the points that you get the 200-foot, quarter-mile, half-mile buffer for the different TOD stops. We have two approaches that we started with for this particular item. We started first with general transit feed specification or GTFS data. This is data that comes from transit operators. And so we pulled this data down whenever it was available to map the pedestrian access points. When it is not available, in particular for planned projects that were eligible, we are looking at mapping the center point of platform based on shapefiles and plans that were provided by the transit operator, noting that this will be updated over time. I do want to flag for you that there is more on pedestrian access points when I get to the corrections, but this is kind of what our original approach was, and I'll get into some more again in the corrections. So the draft map was released on June 1st. We provided a deadline for corrections with documentation of June 12th. The map has now been updated and is available online with a series of corrections. However, there are more corrections that we need to make, or updates, that we need to make that are forthcoming. So as I noted, corrections were due June 12th with documentation. We evaluated all of the corrections that were received to determine whether they were eligible to be included into methodology or the map. And this was determined based on the statute, HCD clarifications, and the documentation and data that we secured. So I will highlight the major themes of the corrections we received. The first being around specific stop corrections, where we received a lot of comments about adding stops, removing stops, light rail, J line outside of downtown LA, commuter rail, bus stops. And so we evaluated all of those requests, worked with transit operators to collect data, reviewed the statute and HCD clarifications, and at this point have added 15 stops, removed 11 stops. However, there are more stops we need to add that I'll get into when I get into some more of the corrections, but this is what is live today as of July 1st on the map. Second is pedestrian access points. This was another major theme in the corrections, and there are 3 tranches under this particular point. So the first is related to the general transit feed specification points. As I noted, when we identified the stops, we downloaded that data, and that's what we mapped across the board. However, in some cases, some of the stops have points that represent a platform and points that represent the access points, like elevators, escalators, and stairs. Given that this is about pedestrian access, we're going to drop the platform whenever that's available and just keep the access points, which are the elevators, escalators, and stairs. So that's a cleanup that we've already incorporated. The second area of corrections we're making on pedestrian access points is related to planned projects with construction drawings. We heard from some jurisdictions that from their perspective, it is ideal that those points are not moving over time. And so if a project has construction drawings underway, work with the operator, figure out the access point, put them down now so they're not moving in a year or two. So we are working with the operator, collecting those drawings, they're identifying the access points, and we will be manually mapping those. These have not yet been incorporated because it's something that we have to manually do. And then the third is around the locally preferred alternative. Again, we just got this information last week. And so we will be mapping projects with a locally preferred alternative, and the pedestrian access points here will either be intersection or center point of platform, depending on the data that's available. But again, want to emphasize number 1 is in the July 1st map that was published yesterday. 2 and 3 are in process given the complexity of the work and the data collection that's needed. Okay, third theme, disclaimer language. So this doesn't reflect the methodology, it's more about the map. So if you have had the pleasure of checking out the SB 79 map, when you go on, there's a very big disclaimer that comes up. We made some corrections on the disclaimer based on comments. There was a desire just to have more clarity on roles and responsibilities. So it has been revised to reflect that if somebody has questions about land use, they need to talk to the local jurisdiction. If they have questions about transit frequency and operation, they need to talk to the transit operator. The fourth theme is around the timing of map updates. We are proposing to make updates to the SB 79 map under 2 triggers. The first is when a new county becomes an urban transit county, and the second is there will be annual updates that we will be undertaking. So we will be developing a process with predictability for stakeholders that highlight when those annual updates will happen and what kind of data we will be collecting, because I want to stress SCAG is not the originator of any of the data that we use for SB 79. We need it from transit operators and from cities. And so we will develop a process with a timeline and clarity on the data that we'll be collecting. So that is another theme there. Number 5, projects with a locally preferred alternative. We received, again, clarification from HCD last week that we are to map projects with a locally preferred alternative. As such, the methodology has been redlined and the map will be updated. Commuter rail frequency, this was a theme, not so much a correction. I just want to reemphasize the SB 79 map for the SCAG region does include commuter rail stations that align with the HCD clarification. We are flagging where the text box that flags, again, the distinction we see from statute and HCD clarifications, but the stations are mapped. I also want to note that we have, as part of corrections, including Covina and Cal State LA Metrolink stations as well. And this was verified based on level of service with the operator. Number 7, I kind of talked about a little earlier in the presentation. We made a correction as it relates to cities that have less than 35,000 people. Essentially, the half-mile buffer doesn't apply to them, so we've dropped that across the board on the map. And the last theme is around CEQA review. We received a comment noting that the preparation of the SB 79 map should require CEQA review. We disagree with that perspective. And from our perspective, SCAG is essentially mapping, creating a map based on a statutory responsibility, and we're utilizing the statute and HCD's clarifications to develop the map. So for stakeholder engagement, we, throughout this entire process, have been working with transit operators to collect the data, with jurisdictions and operators on the corrections. We will do similar work with Orange County as we have more visibility on the timing for the OC streetcar. And in terms of next steps, we are developing an approach and timeline for updating the map to include the projects with the detailed construction drawings, as well as a locally preferred alternative. That is something that's underway. And we will develop an approach for the annual map updates so folks have visibility on when that's happening and what we'll need. And again, we'll engage Orange County stakeholders, the update there too. So as the action before you is a recommendation that the Regional Council approve the Senate Bill 79 approach and methodology. That concludes my presentations. Happy to take your questions.
Great presentation. Thank you for the thorough presentation. Let me go to the public first. So let me go to the speakers in person, and then we'll go to speakers in remote locations. So
Thank you, Mr. President. I have those cards here with me. With your permission, I'll call the first speaker,
please.
Kathy Fee. And as a reminder, you've got 1 minute, and we've got a handy dandy timer up there on the screen, so everybody's aware.
Hello, everyone. Wasn't expecting to be first, but I'm here today mostly because of this zoning issue in West Hollywood. I'm all for the subway. I think it's great. I hope I live long enough to see it. I hope I can ride that station at Santa Monica and Fairfax. I'm in that half-a-mile zone. And what I don't understand is why our city council isn't being more careful about the zoning. The majority of our city council has decided that Sacramento should plan our neighborhood, and that I know we have, oh my gosh, okay, please take us off the map for now until we can straighten this out. We're going to straighten it out. We're working on it, but we need your help, and we just need to get our TODAP done. And I apologize that.
Thank you.
Next is Thomas Alvarez. After that, it'll be Jacob Pierce.
Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas Alvarez. I'm a student at UC Davis, originally from the San Fernando Valley and an intern with Abundant Housing LA. Looking at the people in attendance today, I hope to offer my unique perspective as a young person in the battle for housing advocacy. One thing I've often heard when it comes to Los Angeles and its housing crisis is that the region is, as a whole, is made up of islands of New York and a sea of Houston, struggling to find its own identity. SB 79 represents an incredible chance for Southern California to embrace the intersectional nature of housing as an issue that is closely related to challenges of race, class, gender, socioeconomic status, and now public transit access. I'm here today in support of the staff recommendation with amendments made to the SB 79 methodology, with an urge to continue refining this methodology to include all eligible public transportation stops, especially on SCAG's online map. Clarifying the methodology regarding certain Metrolink stations, such as those in the Burbank and Glendale area, are crucial for the viability of SB 79 in the LA area. Not making an effort to resolve these questions will invite lawsuits to SCAG and the cities it represents. As I hope to one day live in a city where I never again have to sit in hour-long traffic on the 405 and have a home that I can still live in, please confirm these recommendations. Thank you.
Jacob Pierce, followed by MC Gary.
Hello, Jacob Pierce. I'm a policy associate for Abundant Housing LA. Wanted to thank SCAG staff for being so responsive to the issues raised by our organization and allied groups, as well as Department of Housing and Community Development, HCD. We urge you to support the staff recommendation with amendments as outlined in a letter co-signed by us and 12 other organizations submitted Tuesday, including, I'll add, West Hollywood for All. One issue I want to highlight is that staff must clarify that the station areas around Metrolink stations qualify for SB 79 based on the cumulative number of trains. This is something that aligns with HCD guidance, and so these stops must meet this threshold. Additionally, although the methodology has improved, the draft map is still missing stations, so we trust the map will be updated to fix this methodology to include the K-Line North and East Side Transit Corridor Extension 2. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
MC Gary, followed by Levita Mendez.
Hi, I'm MC Gary. I live in Hermosa Beach. I'm very excited for SB 79 to take effect. I'm an environmentalist and I'm looking forward to the benefits from this law. More homes near transit will be incredibly beneficial. I urge you to accept staff recommendations with amendments. Some changes have been made, but you are still not following HCD guidance. I hope that the updates will add more stops that should apply. We are already facing budget constraints, so please do these to avoid any costly lawsuits. Thank you for your time.
Levita Mendez, followed by Kathy Blavis, I believe.
Hello. Hi, my name is Lorita Mendez. I am a new resident of West Hollywood West area in West Hollywood. We are very fortunate, my husband and I, to now have our home there. Someone building a 7-story apartment unit on our street will effectively destroy our home and its value. And to allow the destruction of our neighborhood because there might be a nearby subway stop in 30 years borders on insanity. Highly speculative subway stops that will not exist, if ever, for decades, should not be the basis for developers to take our neighborhoods and destroy our homes. Please stop this insanity. Please do not allow the destruction of our homes and our neighborhood. Thank you.
Kathy Blavis, followed by Kyle Brazil.
Good afternoon, Kathy Blavis, City of West Hollywood. To say the least, it's disappointing that the methodology doesn't include something as fundamental as determining whether or not affected communities actually support the proposal, especially when it dramatically reshapes our entire city. There is overwhelming support for a TODAP. This is not just about new development, it is about changing West Hollywood's character, its scale, and the opportunity for future generations to achieve the dream of ownership. What's even more troubling is that the refusal to use a transit-oriented development area plan, the very planning tool SB preserves, so communities can help shape their future. For a city that proudly calls itself creative, refusing to engage in that process speaks volumes. Please do not include the proposed West Hollywood K-Line Northern Extension stations on SB 79 qualifying transit stop map until West Hollywood has had the opportunity to complete a TODAP and the funding is secured. Thank you.
Kyle Brazil, followed by, I believe, Mike Holtzman.
Thanks. We've heard from some of the special interests in the room threatening lawsuits, but I instead am a resident of West Hollywood. I ask that this council exercise its discretion and determine that the planned K-Line stations do not satisfy the proposed requirements. When Metro Board selected the San Vicente Fairfax alignment as the locally preferred alternative, it did not do it outright. It expressly conditioned that selection on the formation of an EIFD by the City of West Hollywood. Even if West Hollywood intends to create that, it has not yet and cannot compel the actions of LA County nor the City of Los Angeles. It is important to recognize that key prerequisites to final approval of the LPA remain outside the hands of West Hollywood officials. I ask the council to exercise its discretion, apply the methodology consistently, and determine that the K-Line Northern Extension does not yet satisfy the standard for inclusion, as we have not yet formally approved an LPA. It is still conditional. I ask this body to act responsibly. Thank you.
Mike Holtzman, followed by Anita Goswemmer.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Holtzman, a resident of West Hollywood. The proposed K-Line Northern Extension does not currently satisfy SB 79's locally preferred alternative standard because Metro's approval remains expressly contingent on securing approximately $2.25 billion in local funding. I'm here today to urge you not to approve the addition of the proposed Metro K Northern Extension stations on the SB 79 maps. In March, the Metro Board approved the San Vicente Fairfax LPA expressly contingent upon the formation of an enhanced infrastructure financing district by the city of West Hollywood to provide additional local funding equal to at least 25% of the project's estimated capital costs, requiring approximately $2.25 billion. Until there is a reasonable basis to conclude the required local funding can realistically be secured, the ultimate implementation of the San Vicente Fairfax alignment remains uncertain. If required local funding cannot be secured, Metro could ultimately determine alignments would
Thank
be
you.
more
Thank you, sir.
feasible. Thank you.
Anita Gossams, followed by Sheila Ross.
Hi there. I'm Anita Goswami, resident of West Hollywood. It's interesting how the recommendation changed so much from the report approved by the committee on June 4th, 2026, and only on very recent direction from HCD. I'm highly concerned about the KNE LPA approval that's specifically contingent on West Hollywood providing over $2 billion via an enterprise infrastructure financing district. The city, in case you weren't aware, can't even fund its own capital projects, over $187 million this year. This was raised at Metro at the board decision as well, too, as to whether West Hollywood could even afford to do it. I see significant financial risk for the completion of an EFID, therefore that those proposed KNE LPA stops, that they be built 10 to 15 years in the future, is that even realistic? Enabling SB 79 development in areas where transit stops are questionable, not only inappropriate, but it's not correct. Secondly, public has not been adequately informed on the impacts of these transit-oriented development issues. That's why you're seeing so many of us here. We we don't support development. Thank you.
Sheila Ross, followed by Philip Mathis.
Good morning, Chair and members of the Community Council. Sheila Rossi, Mayor of South Pasadena, member, ABC, JPA, and CHD Committee. First, I want to start by commending the staff. This highly technical work under a hard deadline and genuinely ambiguous state guidance was handled very professionally. My concern is with the process, not people. The preliminary methodology provided cities in May changed within the span of a week, moving from a single point in radius to 5 points in radii per station, expanding zone geography region-wide, and that shift was attributed to HCD guidance. When I raised this issue with HCD directly last week at our San Gabriel Valley COG SB 79 ad hoc committee, their response was that they provided advice, not formal guidance, and the decision was ultimately up to the MTOs. That distinction between advice and guidance creates real exposure, not just for SCAG, but for cities. Housing advocates are already raising legal exposure over inconsistencies across MPOs on the mapping methodology question. I'm asking that heading into the 7th RENA cycle, SCAG formally requests written HCD guidance on any matter affecting methodology at the beginning of the process. We need to end the era of informal guidance that results in inconsistency, confusion across the region. Level policy decisions.
Thank you. Philip Mathis, and then Lauren Meister.
Good morning, Philip Mathis, resident of West Hollywood. I understand HCD questioned the environmental clearance methodology, but the threshold issue here is actually far simpler. The K-line extension doesn't even qualify as a locally preferred alternative because Metro's approval was and remains contingent upon West Hollywood securing an ambitious financing plan that has yet to materialize. SCAG has no authority or obligation to treat Metro's conditional approval as though it were final. Secondly, the legislature created two paths under SB 79. The default, as you know, upzones by drawing a big circle on a map. But the law also provided alternatives, including a TODAP, which gave local communities the right to engage in thoughtful planning before upzoning takes effect. SCAG's 11th hour edition of these stops effectively denies that opportunity to communities around the K-line. These stations won't open for 20 years or more, assuming they even get built, but adding them to SCAG's map prematurely creates massive zoning consequences today. There's plenty of time to get this right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lauren Meister, and then we'll move to the online participants.
Good afternoon, everyone. Lauren Meister, council member for the City of West Hollywood, but here speaking for myself. SCAG is the premier agency when it comes to planning and utilizing data to make its recommendations regarding policy. In my opinion, SCAG is the smartest, least political, most numbers-driven agency that we have in this state. Regarding this item, my original plan was to be here today to ask this body to support CEHD's recommendation. Unfortunately, between last month and this meeting, HCD provided guidance which changed the approach and methodology basically at the 11th hour. It's unfair and concerning. Just because there is an LPA, there is no guarantee this project will happen. In the case of West Hollywood, the LPA is conditional upon the City of West Hollywood forming an EIFD. No EIFD has been formed to date, and the LPA is not by any means a fait accompli. Allowing the mapping of stops that may never happen is irresponsible. Wait until such times that it is a reality. Thank you for the opportunity.
Mr. President, I'll proceed to call on the Zoom.
Please, thank you.
Ali Shahidi.
Ali Shahidi, resident of West Hollywood. I'm here to ask SCAG to remove the proposed K-line extension in West Hollywood from Transit City stop map. For those stations to qualify, HCD requires an adopted LPA. That has not happened. Metro's approval of these stops was explicitly conditioned on West Hollywood contributing over $2 billion. That condition hasn't been met with Metro Board Metro Board publicly questioned the city would realistically raise it. The inclusion of those stops would give developers complete control to reshape West Hollywood with luxury apartments. Additionally, West Hollywood Council member Chelsea Byers is under investigation by West Hollywood City Attorney and California FPPC for alleged conflict of interest related to her employment and receiving money from an organization behind SB 79. She should not participate in this discussion. Thank you.
We have Jacob Wasserman.
Thank you so much. My name is Jacob Wasserman. I'm a Santa Monica Planning Commissioner and professional transportation researcher, but I'm speaking for myself. I want to echo the concerns that some housing advocates raised about the corrections being good, but not enough. And I particularly want to say that these advocates were right the first time. We pointed out that this was not in line. This is not an 11th hour HCD correction. HCD told you were wrong. The committee voted and staff supported anyway, and then HCD had to go back and correct you. So you've been warned, and I would heed that you listen this time, that there are still issues. Just having the commuter rail stops on the map, but then having a pop-up box saying, hey, wink, wink, don't actually follow this, that's not satisfying HCD corrections, despite saying it. And the J line has transit-only lanes in front of its stops on the freeway. They count, and the methodology explicitly says the lines don't need to be continuous between stops. So please follow the law, and please don't have the same mistake happen again. You were warned, you didn't follow HCD, you got smacked down, fix it this time.
Phone number ending in 1480.
I'm Jay Jacobson, a longtime West Hollywood resident. I'm asking SCAG to remove the 4 proposed West Hollywood K-line stations from the SCAG map and require that council member Chelsea Byers recuse herself until the FPPC completes its conflict review of her. Metro approved the alignment conditionally, requiring West Hollywood to first raise $2.25 billion in local funding. That funding does not exist, which makes stations legally ineligible for inclusion. Yet placing them on this map today will immediately trigger SB 79 and permanently alter our community long before a single shovel hits the ground. Public confidence in this process is further undermined by the unresolved conflict concerns surrounding Chelsea Byers. Please protect the integrity of this process, remove these stations from the map, and postpone any participation by Councilmember Byers until these concerns have been resolved. Thank you.
Janet Hill. Janet Hill. You're unmuted. Okay, we'll now proceed to the next one and we'll come back to Janet Hill. Phone number ending in 2903.
Dear Council, as a West Hollywood resident, I'm here to respectfully ask SCAG to remove the unlawful proposed K-line northern extension in our city from the transit stop map. The legal issue is clear. For these stations to qualify, HCD requires an adopted locally preferred alternative. That has not happened. Metro's approval of these stops was explicitly conditioned on West Hollywood contributing over $2 billion. That condition hasn't been met, and even Metro Board publicly questioned the city could realistically raise it. At SCAG's June 4th meeting, Mrs. Carvajal excluded West Hollywood stops complied with HCD guidance. Their sudden and lawful inclusion would give developers free rein to reshape West Hollywood with luxury apartments before residents can prepare a TODAP to defend vulnerable communities, unleashing unnecessary litigation. Please don't allow West Hollywood to become collateral damage of a premature and legally unsupported decision. Thank you.
To Janet Hill. Janet Hill.
Hello, I'm Janet Hill, resident of West Hollywood. Oops, yet another change in interpretation of SB 79. Why? Because it's a poorly written bill designed and backed by large corporate developers and their quote unquote pro-housing lobbying organizations. A yes vote today will put unfunded and unsequa approved stations on maps. Why? So those same developers can build. SB 79 was designed to take away control from local jurisdictions. Encouraging mapping of speculative unfunded stations without environmental approval makes zero sense. An unconfirmed conditional LPA is the absolute flimsiest of criteria. If you think this or any other part of this new interpretation does not pass the common sense test, I urge you to vote no. Keep control where it belongs, in your jurisdiction, not in the hands of Sacramento. Thank you.
Next, Henry Fung.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Henry Fung. I just want to remind the SCAG members on the committee that Sacramento is not this monolithic, mysterious entity. It is us. We elected the state officials that serve us in Sacramento. Some of your SCAG council members have tried to lobby the state against SB 79, and they failed. And we have to follow the law. The state HCD has given guidance, and SCAG needs to follow that guidance. If we don't want to create a constitutional crisis where we have one level of government listening to a higher level of government, where our elected officials at the state level have made decisions that I support, that our whole state has supported, and again, the maps are consistent with other regions. So I support a SCAG staff recommendation. I urge this regional council to please pass the recommendation and follow HC guidance. Duly so. Thank you.
Well,
hello, my name is Carolyn Campbell. I'm a 40-year resident of the city of West Hollywood, and I strongly and respectfully request that SCAG remove the proposed K-Line Northern Extension subway stations in West Hollywood. SCAG voted 32-3 to leave West Hollywood's planned stations off the SB 79 transit upzoning ban because SCAG interpreted the law accurately to imply only to built transit. Because the Metro K-Line extension has no committed construction funding and had not yet cleared the full environmental review CEQA process, I strongly urge the council to not let HBE bully our area. This is not sensible. You all were on the right track to begin with, and until Chelsea Byers is cleared of any impropriety, I ask you to please leave West Hollywood off, where 1.9 square acres, our whole city would be ruined.
and our last speaker is Maddie Manji.
Hello, Matthew Menji with Inner City Law Center. We represent low-income folks throughout LA County. We're a nonprofit law firm based in Skid Row. First of all, just want to thank the staff, SCAG staff, for your diligent work on ensuring that SCAG is compliant with state law and SB 79. Appreciate adding the relevant stops, including the K-Line Northern Extension and Spellville Transit Corridor, as well as the East Side Phase 2A and 2B. As well as adding some of the additional stops that are now on the map.
Is that it? Thank you. Thank you for the public comments. I'm just going to ask one more time, in person, anybody wish to speak? Okay, I see none. I'm going to close public comments. And now I'm going to go to the regional council. I saw Marcia.
I have a question on this. For projects such as the K-line extension, which is not yet literally on the books, it's still kind of a potential station. And if it appears on the map that is proposed today, is there a process that proposed development would need to go through? Or does this just give them the ability to go ahead and build any project that they would like?
So SCAG's responsibility is to develop the map based on statute HCD clarifications. The effective date of the statute was July 1st, when there are places that have the eligible TOD stops and zones. The way that the statute kicks in is it identifies development requirements or standards depending on the tiers. Those apply unless a jurisdiction develops a TOD alternative plan or they defer implementation. HCD has been the point for providing guidance on the implementation of the statute and what it means in terms of development process. We have been squarely focused on the mapping assignment, but those are the mechanisms. It either statute applies, you do a TOD alternative plan, or you're able to defer, but those are all processes that HCD oversees, and they are the key and really the lead for making determinations on the implementation of the statute at the local level with jurisdictions.
Just follow up. I kind of get what you're saying, but I'm still a little concerned that if there is something that appears on the map and which gives development the ability to just go in and develop whatever they want, can that happen simply because it's on the map but still will never get built?
So the statute defines that the TOD stops that are mapped within an urban transit county are either a series of operational projects, commuter rail, light rail, bus rapid transit, or planned projects. And under the statute, planned projects are either those with some level of environmental clearance. As I noted, HCD provided additional clarification last week in writing stating that we must map projects with a locally preferred alternative. As such, they have to be mapped, and therefore SB 79 would apply at those stops.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Gardner?
Yeah, at the risk of kind of sounding uninformed on this one, and I hope I'm not, but I'm going to follow up on what Margaret was saying. It's not terribly easy to understand in reading SB 79, and I think sometimes HCD makes it worse, but maybe if I try to simplify it a little bit, assume that we pass the map which includes the projected K-line extension, even though it hasn't been built or even hasn't been funded, and it never gets built. Does that then give the city of West Hollywood or the developers within the city of West Hollywood a green light to go ahead and build a 10-story building where a potential stop might be 20 years from now? Or does it give them the ability to say, look, 20 years from now, we may want to put a 10-story building there, but it's not going to get built for a while. Do we go ahead and wait to see, or does it require the zoning and the city to add that there just because it's on the map, even though it may never get built?
So the methodology is the technical basis of the map, and that is the document before you for consideration. And I'll do my best to answer. Please follow up with me if I don't answer the question clearly. Per statute, we are required to develop a map for urban transit counties and identify the eligible TOD stops. If it's a stop, it's a stop, whether it's operational or whether it's planned, so long as it meets the statute and the HCD clarifications. So to answer your question, I believe it, yes, for the K line, because it has a locally preferred alternative, it would get mapped and it would be treated the same way as the A line that's operational going to Pomona, because it's on the map, because it meets the statute and HCD clarifications. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, we've got, with similar stuff out in the Coachella Valley, we have a potential way in the future potential, right, Ms. Harnick, line out to the desert, but we're already planning that we're going to have a station stop in Palm Desert, and so Palm Desert needs to start planning now for that, even though it may not happen for 20 years. West Hollywood, I would assume, need to start planning for that, even though that K line may not make it there for 20 years. And so as I look at this, and help me if I'm wrong in misinterpreting this is more of a guideline for both the city and the transit agency to look at zoning and look, all right, this will eventually be a stop. Plan for that in the future. It doesn't necessarily mean this is going to be a potential stop, build a 10-story building here tomorrow, right?
Comey, I don't know, I see your mic. I'm happy to,
Yeah,
whenever you want to jump in.
I guess I'm going to ask a clarifying question for you. Our job is to do the map.
Correct.
Now, it still requires local jurisdictional action to go through a land use process. And so we're not involved in that. So the law requires the MPO to create a map. And like you heard the comments, they're concerned about the map might then lead to other things. But the things that it leads to still requires city approvals and land use processes to occur. So the map doesn't necessarily lead to. You want to clarify that?
Yeah, I mean, I think so under the statute, and I can confirm, but under the statute, the effective date is July 1st, and the statute identifies development standards that kind of kick in the statute. The jurisdiction then also has the opportunity to develop a TOD alternative plan or to defer implementation. What I need to confirm is whether allowing the statute to kick in as is something a city needs to proactively take an action on, or it just happens. I mean, I can confirm that. But effective date is July 1st. It identifies development standards within tier 1 or tier 2. And that is why we're hearing from folks the desire for a TOD alternative plan or other mechanisms of implementation where they can shift the development as opposed to just letting the statute kick in as it's written.
I think that helped a lot, Comey. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, Mr. Wong, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to start off by appreciating staff, Elizabeth and the team. I know this is extraordinarily complex, and half of this still goes over my head, more than half actually. But really appreciate the work, and this is a completely new process for SCAG, for the state, and we're all working through this together, understanding that. I want to express my appreciation. I think the council's appreciation for all the work and the work still to come. It sounds like there's still a lot of clarifications and changes that still need to come, and comments we're working through to update the map. What is on a clarifying question on this, you're asking the regional council today to approve the methodology, right? We're not approving an actual map because the map will change as some of these changes are implemented, and we continue to receive probably some more guidance from HCD and the state on clarifying what the statute actually is and requires. Is that right?
So I can clarify. The action before you is the methodology. That is the technical basis for the map. From our perspective, the redlined methodology before you addresses all of the corrections that we think are appropriate to make. When I noted that there will be additional updates, I was referring to the stations that have construction drawings. We have to manually map those, but that does not change the methodology. It's going to take more time for us to take a construction drawing and an aerial and map it. And for the projects with a locally preferred alternative, we've already redlined the methodology indicating we will be mapping it, but we have not yet done that because we have to collect the data to see what's available. So the methodology as proposed to you is responsive and addresses all the corrections that we think are appropriate to make. And the additional map updates that I referenced are more related to complex mapping efforts that we have to make, but are not clarifications we believe are needed. We've already addressed the comments from our perspective, and they're identified in the methodology document in redline.
Great. No, that's helpful. And then just in terms of the, right, if we approve, if the council approves the methodology today, we'll continue to make updates to, right, as we answer these questions on what qualifies as a stop and those kind of things, what you're saying. So the map can change, will likely change in the next few months, or there might be some change in terms of the stops, what qualifies.
So to clarify, from our perspective, we have defined what qualifies as a stop. The corrections that the updates that we're going to make in the near term are just to add the additional stops or update stops based on additional data related to construction drawings or projects with an LPA. But the methodology document as written and redline is responsive and fully defines what we believe should be mapped. That is there. So we're going to do these updates, and we'll be doing annual updates where we collect data over time. But I want to be super clear that from our perspective, the methodology is a final draft presented to the regional council for your consideration because it is responsive to the corrections we believe are appropriate to make based on comments received.
Great. And we're going to finalize this map. And I know it sounds like we're going to update this on a regular basis, but whatever guidance, we want to provide as much accurate guidance to the cities and counties, or really LA County at this point and Orange County down the line, so that they know how to provide guidance to developers and builders that want to build in these areas. So whatever we can do to as quickly as possible, make sure these maps are as accurate as possible to provide that guidance, I think would be great and helpful to the cities. And then on just for clarification purposes, because I think some of the speakers came up, SCAG doesn't have discretion in terms of making policy here. We're just implementing what the state is requiring for us in this methodology and the maps that we're producing required by state law since we're the MPO. We can't make a call whether this qualifies or that qualifies. We're looking at guidance from the state telling us what qualifies, what doesn't based on the law. We are just providing this map and this methodology that is producing the map as guidance for jurisdictions for their land use approvals. This is really just ministerial and a pass through essentially to provide guidance to the cities, right?
So correct. We are responsible for creating a map based on statute, HCD clarifications. Ultimately, the land use decisions are made at the local level by jurisdictions.
Great, thanks.
Let me go to Chelsea next.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Council. Just a bit more from West Hollywood today. For the last 10 years, West Hollywood has championed the K-Line Northern Extension, which was approved last March by Metro. While I was mayor last year, I led the City Council in voting to support SB 79. The cities of Santa Monica and Culver City, which are in my region, also voted in support of SB 79 as well. I am immensely excited about the future we're building in West Hollywood and across the region, and I know so many others are as well. As you've heard today and have seen in some of the public comments, I've been experiencing attacks related to my ability to participate in this decision on the basis of the organization I work for and its perceived financial interest in this decision, but just want to be absolutely clear. The basis for recusal is financial ties, and the organization I'm employed by has absolutely no financial interest in these decisions. The organization I'm employed by does not take positions on specific legislation or policy. It does not make candidate endorsements or support candidates. It has no financial membership structure or relationships with any for-profit entities who would benefit from these decisions, and it has not played any role in this policy discussions before us today. I professionally worked for many organizations that align with my values, as I'm sure many people elected to public office have done so. And what's more, I have been someone who's been impacted directly by housing affordability and have voiced support for these issues over my 2 decades of leadership. These attacks are not shocking, given my clarity on my values, my commitment to expressing my values, and the age of politics we are living in. But I'm here in my right to vote today on behalf of my region, and I appreciate the opportunity to participate in this process as I was elected to do so. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Shauna?
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth, for your report. It was a great report, also to CEHD as well. And I just want to thank staff for all of their hard work on the mapping and the methodology. I do appreciate that. I support the work and will be voting to approve it, but I would be remiss not to at least indicate for my community and the communities I represent that I do fundamentally oppose SB 79. I think a lot of people do. Having said that, it's the law. And our job here today isn't to litigate that. It's to approve the methodology. And so for that reason, I do support this. Thanks.
Thank you. Hardy Kashigan?
Thank you. I have a few questions. Actually, my first question is, you mentioned that there is the ability to delay implementation of SB 79 to local jurisdictions, but that is very limited in how it requires for phased density in those corridors, correct?
Yeah, so HCD has been the point within the statute to provide guidance on the implementation of the statute. I can just speak, in general, that those are the different mechanisms. But our role has been squarely on creating the map. We have been referring to jurisdictions to HCD whenever inquiries have come up to ask them the question, because we want to make sure you get correct answers and guidance on how to do that. So that is something I would refer to HCD. I'm happy to make a connection.
I understand. I just don't want people who watch this meeting, and since we're putting things in the official record, to be under the impression that somehow there's something that can prevent what's coming. And I just want to be clear. I'm not against SB 79. I'm not against better interconnectivity in terms of public transit. However, I think when both are layered together, as there was a movie, I think, that won the Oscars a few years back, Everything Everywhere All at Once or something. That's what this feels like. And so I just want to put my region's position on this very clearly. There's an old saying attributed to, I think, Mark Twain, who said that politics is the art of promising to protect everyone from everyone else, right? Collecting money from the rich and votes from the poor and trying to convince each you're going to protect them from the other. Now, I don't know if that was, actually said by Mark Twain, but someone said Groucho Marx, but I don't want to be accused of being a Marxist nowadays. Now, but let me just get to the point. Whether this was actually said or not, the sentiment is being captured in what we are looking at here, the temptation to continue to find its way into public policy. We promise that one more law, one more mandate, one more layer of state control will solve a very complex problem. Yet after more than a decade of steadily eroding local planning authority in the name of affordability, housing costs continue to outpace wages, and Californians who need relief the most are still waiting. So today we're being asked to approve this methodology implementing SB 79. And I oppose not only the underlying premise of the legislation, or how it's being forced upon cities, but also the methodology before us and the process by which it has been developed. So representing District 42, which includes Glendale and Burbank, I cannot support it for these reasons. First, the methodology goes beyond what the statute appears to require. Staff, you have acknowledged that SCAG originally interpreted commuter rail frequency by counting each rail line separately. And while HCD has later directed that all trains serving a station be aggregated, that interpretation substantially expands the number of Tier 1 and Tier 2 stations, and with them, the number of neighborhoods subjected to automatic upzoning. In communities like mine, in communities like Glendale and Burbank, where Metrolink stations are woven into established residential neighborhoods, this distinction has enormous real-world consequences. Second, the rules changed after the public review process had effectively ended. Local agencies were required to submit corrections by June 12th. Then on June 22nd, HCD issued significant policy change directing that planned transit projects need only have locally preferred alternative rather than environmental clearance to be included. And we've acknowledged that the maps will require revisions after today's action. That means we're being asked to approve methodology before affected jurisdictions have had a meaningful opportunity to review the final product. Now, my father taught me that when I was growing up, and I suspect many of your parents probably had similar teachings that they passed on to you. If something is worth doing, it's worth doing right. So I've carried that lesson with me throughout my life. I believe it applies especially to us in government. If we're making decisions that will reshape neighborhoods affect property rights, influence billions of dollars in investment, and determine where families will be able to live for generations to come, then we have an obligation to get it right. Not almost right, not mostly right, but right. Government asks a great deal of people we represent. The least they should expect from us is that we do our homework before we ask them to live with the consequences of our decisions. Third, the responsibility and accountability simply do not match. The map carries a rebuttal presumption of validity that developers can rely upon, yet SCAG acknowledges it is not the source of much of the underlying data. Questions about parcel eligibility and mapping errors ultimately fall back on us, the local governments, along with legal exposure that follows. The authority rests here, but the consequences are shifted to all of us here sitting in this room. And all of this proceeds without CEQA review. No one disputes that California faces a housing affordability crisis, but density standing alone is not affordability. Glendale supported the implementation of the BRT, the Bus Rapid Transit, because Glendale has become a public transit island, isolated after the Red Line cable cars were taken away from us in the 50s. We are one of the most populous cities in the county of Los Angeles and have a population where more than 50% of our residents were born somewhere outside of the United States and are working class families. In many working class communities like Glendale, increasing development potential without corresponding guarantees of affordability can accelerate speculation, increase land values, and displace the very people and young families this policy claims to help. SB 79 means well, but the state's approach of everything everywhere all at once, as I said, is flawed. Success should not be measured by how many parcels fall within a half-mile radius of a transit station. It should be measured by whether working families can still afford to call our communities home. This is not a not in my neighborhood position. This is a yes, but it has to be done right to work. For these reasons, I respectfully urge this body to continue this item until HCD's final guidance has been fully incorporated and affected jurisdictions have had the opportunity to review the corrected maps.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate for those comments. I'm going to go to Jan Harnick.
Thank you, Chair. What I heard, and I want clarity on this if you can help me, and thank you for the presentation, and it was a lot. And presented well. What I heard were neighbors in a community who are afraid, and they are afraid they are losing their ability to make decisions within their community, and their decisions would be based on real life experience. And that's what I kept hearing. Will this, by creating this map, will then developers be able to come in and by right simply build kind of whatever they want because it's going to fill some need that has been set forth?
Yes or no?
I just,
So we are responsible for creating the map. We identify the stations based on statute. And those stations have to meet the definitions within the statute and the HCD clarifications. And there is no distinction between a station that's operational or a station that's planned. We are responsible for preparing the map. Ultimately, HCD has been the agency to provide guidance on the implementation and what it means for cities and how they execute what it means at the local level. But we are responsible for creating the map of eligible stops, which are operational stops and some planned projects. And they're just a stop that shows up on the map based on, again, meeting the eligibility under the statute and HCD clarifications.
so would the city then have the ability to zone it in such a way that would avoid what I kept hearing over and over again, which was their fear?
I think HCD would be best suited to provide clarifications. The challenge is that the effective date of the statute was July 1st. And so I think HCD would be best positioned to provide guidance to any city that has questions about how to navigate this situation given direction provided last week on projects with an LPA. They would be the best position to respond to that.
Okay, thank you.
Regional Council, I just want to say thank you for all your patience today. Appreciate it. I have 3 more comments. Let me go to Tanya first.
Thank you so very much. And you know why we always have to thank the staff? Because y'all really do great work. And I think we all need to say thank you. But I would like to remind us of a couple of things. Number one, the meaning of like a mandate, a statute, a ransom for hire, like these are all words we do not have control over. A lot of the things that I wish our residents understood is we don't want to do it either. But we are either elected or hired or put in a position where we have to make the best and the most of what we are handed. So my logic is maybe if we figure out and if we keep in mind, it's something I remind myself of when I'm talking to residents who have no idea what I'm doing, is to always keep it very simple when communicating, like bring it from this very macro into the micro so that they can clearly understand what's happening and keep the emphasis on This is a mandate. This is a statute. This is going to happen whether I say yes or no, it's happening. So I can either go along or I can get run over. And then I would just like to gently remind us all that we're planning. I don't build. Do you build? You might build. I'm not going to ask you. Does anybody in here actually have the capacity to enact any of these things? No, but we have to plan for it. So I think we also need to keep that at the forefront of our mind. We are planners. We are not Bob the Builders. We are Paula the Planners.
Thank you. Let me go to John Dutray. Okay, still have a couple more comments and then we'll take the motion in a second. Let me go to John Gabbard.
Thank you. I just want to tag on to what my colleague just brought up. What happens if this board does not approve the methodology?
We would not be meeting our obligation to post the map. We've already posted the map. It was due on the 1st. This decision will validate the map that we posted.
Understand that, but I mean, is somebody from HCD going to come down here and put us all in handcuffs? And
no, we would just not be following the law. That's basically it. And we try not to follow the law.
Well, that's true. I mean, and that's true because the unspoken thing about on the dais here is that HCD has a gun to all of our heads and they could decertify all of our housing elements and then builder's remedy comes into play and it's a problem. So that's if there's concern on the dais, that's what it's about. It's not about whether a stop here is top there doesn't work. It's people don't want to have a 10-story building in their neighborhood with no control. So, but thanks for the clarification.
Thank you, sir. Steve Manos.
The law says that if we don't pass a map, that the state takes control and they make the map, which from what we've heard, they're already making the map, right? Because the corrections are going to continue. They're going to continue to come until the map is the way that the state wants it. So this is a dog and pony show. Okay. This is the appearance of a public hearing. It's not a real public hearing. We have no choice. We have to approve the map. We just do. Otherwise we get lawsuits. Otherwise the state takes control. And what has happened in the past on things like our like RENA numbers is when this board has stood up to the state has punished this body and inevitably the people, okay, by allocating more units and resources. And that's the reality. So I'm 1000% with folks. I don't think you should be planning upzoning around proposed unless it's eminent, any type of proposed transportation hubs. But we don't have any choices. So that's the reality of the situation. And I'm as frustrated as you are, but the bottom line is until we change how we vote in this state, nothing's going to change.
Thank you, Steve. Last comment here is Jeff Wood.
I think enough's already, the last comments are very adequate and I will not add any more.
Jeff, thank you. Appreciate that. I do have a motion and a second. Oh, my buddy Steve Ty. Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, which Steve? We got a trifecta. If you remember, if you're old enough to remember the movie Network, one of my favorite things in that whole thing was the guy gets up and he says, I am mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. And I really appreciate what you said, Mr. Manos. It is a dog and pony show. And what will we do when we get to the point where HDC comes back and says, oh, you're in trouble now? And I would say this, Ms. Elias, you're the first one I heard to say it, so I'll quote you. It's the law, right? And I think in Diamond Bar, we're at 15 square miles, where West Hollywood is not even 2. So when I look at that, I realize that we shouldn't be worried about maps and SCAG and Metro. We should be worried and we should be at the gate against Sacramento and SB 79. That's the gist of it, right? It's like these laws come out and we sit around and we talk about, well, okay, that one's not too bad. That one I'm really in appreciate that one. How the hell did this happen? And, in Diamond Bar, we had single family residences. After Sacramento was involved and they were done, you'll find ADUs around town. No thought given to availability of water. No thought about the ability to have parking available, but they decided that that was best for our communities. And isn't that what we're all here for? I keep hearing people say the area that I represent isn't impacted here, but I don't want to stand by and go, I think you can do better. I think SB 79 is ridiculous. And if you remember, I don't remember how long ago it was, when Mr. Manos, you brought it up, the arena numbers, when we had the arena numbers, and we're all saying that it's not feasible. What are we going to do? Well, we got to give them a number. No. And my point was at that time, push back, tell them no, which is probably unique for people in Sacramento. So thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate that. So we do have a motion. We have a second. Call for a vote.
Yes, and for the record, the motion was made by John Dutray, seconded by Daniel Ramos. I'll proceed to start the vote, Mr. President. And I will ask Member Navarro, how do you proceed to vote for item 1?
Comment first, what's the motion to approve?
Recommendation.
I'm sorry?
To approve the staff recommendation.
My vote is no.
Thank you. Member Wagner, how do you vote?
Wagner, aye.
Thank you. Give it a few more seconds just to make sure the members have all voted. I'll proceed to stop the vote, Mr. President.
Thank you.
And the motion for item 1 passes with 39 votes yes, 4 noes, 1 abstention.
Thank you, everybody. Moving on to our second item. The FFY 26 FTA Olympic and Paralympic formula funding. Presenter on this is Arcomi.
Thank you, Mr. President. The item before you is a recommendation, staff recommendation to submit a split letter for $89.47 million for the Los Angeles, Long Beach, Anaheim urbanized zone with respect to the Olympic and Paralympic Games. This will assign the monies to LA Metro. The monies is really the first tranche of federal dollars that we're expecting for the games out of about $2 billion identified for mobility, safety, accessibility, operations, and capital needs. The SCAG is designated as the designated recipient for the Los Angeles, Long Beach, Anaheim UZA. And so we must submit a split letter to the Federal Transit Administration to identify the use of the $89.47 million. This does not include a separate apportionment from the 2026 apportionment of $1.26 million for the Mission Viejo, Lake Forest, Laguna Niguel UZA. This is not part of that's not part of this action, but there is a separate designation for that, and those funds will go through OCTA. So staff is really recommending that we allocate the full federal apportionment to LA Metro for the identified uses and to make sure that we get into ready to advance projects and fully utilize those funds in compliance with FTA requirements. With that, I ask your aye vote.
Thank you, sir. Let me go to the public. Any public comments on this item?
None at this time.
Okay.
I'll move approval.
Regional council comments?
Move approval, McCallum.
Second, sure.
Okay, I just did, but okay.
Yeah, Mayor, move approval.
Yeah. Did you have a question, sir?
I was seconding.
So motion by Patricia, second by Larry. Kellen. Call for vote, please.
I will proceed to start the vote, Mr. President. Member Navarro, how do you vote on item number 2?
Yes.
Thank you. Member Wagner, how do you vote on item 2? Member Wagner? I'll proceed to stop the vote, Mr. President. And the motion for item 2 passes with 42 votes yes, 0 votes no, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Let's move to the consent calendar. Please note, we will be pulling item number 6, contract 500,000 or greater 26-062-C01 SCAG Regional Safety Action Plan from the agenda. Staff will be bringing this item back in September for approval. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on the consent calendar?
Not at this time.
There is one speaker, regional council member. Mike?
So I'm Mike Goodsell. I serve on the Imperial County Transportation Commission, and I was the one at the legislative committee that recommended opposition, and they took a vote on it. And I wanted the regional council to be
Can you speak in your mic,
Oh, I'm
please?
sorry. I wanted the regional council to be informed before they took the vote as to why I spoke in opposition at the legislative committee. So let me share what I've got here. Imperial County opposes Senator Padilla's bill, which threatens to undermine directly elected local governance. Our current board, composed of elected officials accountable to county residents, serves as an essential safeguard against outside political influence. Under their direction, the Imperial County Air Pollution Control District maintains a proven record of compliance with the Federal Clean Air Act and effectively advances our 2030 greenhouse gas reduction goals. Our regional air quality challenges are driven by cross-border emissions, not regulatory failures. We reject the transition to an expanded board of appointed, unelected individuals and assert that local environmental oversight must remain in the hands of representatives chosen by the voters. SB 675 is a misguided intervention designed to appease a single municipality, the city of Imperial, at the expense of the other 6 cities in our county. The city requested this legislation to seize control from the Board of Supervisors and derail a proposed data center project on county property. By altering district frameworks to include vague compliance mandates for facility maintenance and upgrades, this bill introduces bureaucratic hurdles that will inevitably raise operational costs. These punitive financial burdens will ultimately be passed down to the local taxpayers and businesses. We understand and respect the environmental concerns of the City of Imperial's residences regarding the data center, but statewide legislation is the wrong tool for a localized land use dispute. Imperial County has unique economic and geographic realities that require localized self-determination. We reject an expanded board of unelected appointed members. Like other rural California districts, we will continue to assert our right to self-government through a fully accountable elected board. Thank you.
Mr. President, if I may, just for clarification purposes, Member Goodsell is addressing item 12 on today's consent calendar agenda. I wasn't sure whether you said it, sir. I wanted to bring everyone's attention to that fact. I also understand that we have a representative from Senator Padilla's office who would like to offer public comment, I believe, on this item. So, Mr. President, if I could ask you
Please.
to reopen the public comment period, and we'll recognize that person to speak.
We're going to reopen the public comment period.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair and members. My name is Guillermo Hernandez, and I serve as a district representative with the Office of Senator Steve Padilla, the author of SB 675. I just want to thank all of you for the opportunity to speak before you to consider item 12. Appreciate the opportunity to ensure the author's perspective is part of the official record before the council considers adopting the recommended opposition position on SB 675. As this council knows well, Imperial County faces some of the most significant air quality challenges in Southern California. I dare say the entire state of California. The Salton Sea, the New River, and as we heard from Council Member Mike Goodsell, the cross-border pollution continue to impact the health of our shared constituents. Despite years of work by local, regional, and state and federal partners, the status quo has not delivered the results our communities deserve. Earlier today, I heard someone describe SCAG as planners, and I think that's exactly right. Planning is about recognizing when existing approaches are no longer meeting today's challenges and being willing to improve them. And doing nothing is also a policy choice. After decades of discussing these challenges, SB 675 simply asks whether the way we govern air quality should evolve alongside the challenges we face. We respectfully ask the council to refrain from adopting the recommended opposition position on SB 675. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Jan Harnick.
Thank you very much, Chair. I serve as Vice Chair on LCMC, on our Legislative Committee. And there was a very robust discussion regarding this issue. And excellent points have been made on this issue. And what I am going to suggest now is that we take it back to LCMC to have a complete discussion on this issue. And we touched on it lightly, and here we've got two positions taken. I would like to have a complete in-depth discussion on this at the next LCMC meeting, please.
Mr. Sanchez.
Mr. Sanchez, Steve?
Or Steve Ty. Oh, sorry about that.
I have a point of order.
I think we have to hear that.
Has this item been pulled from the consent calendar?
It hasn't, but it's going to be. So I just was talking to the attorney, so I'm going to pull it. We're going to have 2 votes.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
I see Mayor Navarro has his hand up, Mr. President. You're on mute, sir.
Yeah.
I want to move the consent calendar. Thank you.
It's a motion for the consent calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Seconded by Manos.
And that would be with the
There's-
exception of
there's a
item
young
12,
lady.
which has been pulled.
That's correct.
Yeah, that is.
I heard a point of order. I'm sorry, I
Silly-
didn't see
silly
where it
fellow.
came from.
Silly Sorrow?
Thank you, Chair. I was waiting for the chair to acknowledge me before I spoke. I just wanted to say that I agree with Vice Chair Harnick on pulling agenda item number 12. That was all before we vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm in my motion.
So just for clarity, the chair has pulled item 12. So what remains is the rest of the consent calendar. Mr. President, with your permission, I will have an announcement for item 4 on the consent calendar. But it is the opportunity for members of the regional council to ask questions of staff on consent calendar items to decide whether you want to pull them for further discussion. I see Mr. McCallan's hand up.
Why, instead of pulling 12, why don't we just pull SB 675 off of 12 and approve the others? 12 doesn't.
We're going to just do it this way. We're going to basically do the
We'll-
consent
we'll-
calendar. We're going to pull 12 and with a different vote. So that's just how we're going to do it today. I apologize, but thank you. So do we have a motion on the consent calendar other than 12?
I'll make the motion for the remainder of the consent calendar.
And no second.
Okay,
Who
with
was
the
our
motion and the second, I'm sorry, folks, I need you to check in, please. With respect to item 4 on the consent calendar, which is an update to SCAG's salary schedule, before acting on this item, the Brown Act requires that we orally report a summary of any recommendations for final action on the salaries, salary schedules, or fringe benefits of agency executives. The update to the salary schedule includes a reclassification of the Chief Information Officer position from an L5 to an L4 position, resulting in a decrease in the salary range for the position. This action does not include any other changes to executive compensation or benefits for any other employees. The specific range is found in the staff report for this item. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are. Okay, seeing
And if
none.
I can confirm who made the second on the consent calendar.
Second.
Tran?
Mayor Tran.
Yeah, try.
And
Call
I'll
for vote,
proceed to
please.
start the
Yeah.
vote. And Mayor Navarro, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll proceed to stop the vote.
Oh, what do we- Explain it to me.
And the motion for the consent calendar, which includes items 3 to 5, 7 through 11, 13, and receive and file items 14 through 17 passes with 40 votes yes, 0 votes no, and 0 abstentions.
I'm gonna cue to you, and you can explain that.
Motion carries.
Vote's been recorded. sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, let's go to item number 12. Before I do that, I want clarification here, and Darren is going to explain that.
Thank you, Mr. President. Darren Schitze, Chief Operating Officer. Item 12 includes several bills. The item that I think was pulled for discussion is SB 675. So I believe that's what Member McCallum was referencing earlier. So as you're considering this, we would hope that you'd move forward the other bills with the recommended action that are in the staff report while you're deliberating how to move forward with SB 675.
I think there was a recommendation to take that back.
So Larry, did you have a motion on that?
I would move item 12 minus 675, which will go back to the legislative committee.
Gabbard, second.
Gower, second.
I'll proceed to start the vote, Mr. President.
Thank you.
And Mayor Navarro, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's pretty quick. How they do that.
I'll proceed to stop the vote. And the motion for item 12 passes with 39 votes yes, 3 no votes, 0 abstentions.
Regional Council, once again, thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. So let's move on. We will now receive reports from the business representative, the president, and the executive director. Before we begin, do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on any of these 3 items?
Not at this time, Mr. President.
We are pleased to introduce our new business representative, Paul Granello, for his first regional council meeting. Paul is the executive director of the Inland Empire Economic Partnerships, a nonprofit organization advocating for businesses and quality of life in Riverside and San Bernardino counties. Mr. Granello is a graduate of Cal State San Bernardino and has a Master of Divinity degree from James St. John's Seminary and a degree in canon law from Catholic University of America. Where are you, sir?
It's right there.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Straight down the middle.
I appreciate
Can't see that far.
the appointment. I want to thank the staff for taking time to onboard me. Especially appreciate my predecessors, Randall Lewis and Lucy Dunn. I plan on in September continuing Lucy's business report. And I also chair the Global Land Use and Economics Committee for SCAG. And if there's anything in the report that you are focused on or want me to focus on, please let me know. And if we can make glue even more effective, please let me know. But a pleasure to be with you all.
So thank you, sir. Welcome. So Paul, you have been a speaker over the years, right? For SCAG on many events.
Yes, sir.
And then you've been part of the Glue Council too, correct?
16 years.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you for all your hard work. So my report, the EAC retreat recap, members of the EAC joined me for our annual retreat last month in Lake Arrowhead. We had a great time. We had a positive and productive meeting with informative presentation and discussion on policy issues that SCAG will work on this next year. During the retreat, I shared my priorities for the coming years: clean transportation technology, LA 28 games, just getting ready, being prepared for it, housing production, and infrastructure as a driver of housing and economic development. More details on these priorities and the work that will support them is going to be in staff reports in your agenda packet. So CSC and ARENA subcommittee appointments. At the EAC retreat, we discussed the upcoming Connect Southern California Plan development cycle for the next regional needs assessment allocation process. We will have subcommittees for both of these this year. I would like to share my appointments for these subcommittees. They're on the screen. Please see names of members who will make up the Connect Southern California committees, which supports development of our next regional transportation plan sustainable community strategies. Now on the screen, please see membership of our Regional Housing Needs Allocation Subcommittee. I want to thank you for your participating in these important groups and for your dedication to the region. Regional Council meeting, please note we will have an EAC Policy Committee. We will not have an EAC Policy Committee or Regional Council meeting in August. We are traditionally dark in the month for summer. The next meeting of the Regional Council meeting will be held on Thursday, September 3rd at 11:45. Komi Ajise will now give his Executive Director's report.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I'll be quick. First of all, I want to just quickly mention that, as the president said, we're going to be dark in August. We're going to take that time to refresh the electronics in our meeting rooms, the audiovisuals, the microphones. So we will probably not have a whole lot of in-person meetings held in our building. Most of it will be Zoom. So if you see a lot of Zoom meetings, it's because we're spending all of August refreshing the equipment that you are using in these rooms, in the meeting rooms. We've had them for the last 9 years, and they're in need of refreshment. I also want to take a moment of personal privilege to thank Emma Escobar. Is Emma here? Emma is who, because I got a lot of positives on lunch today. Emma takes care of us. Emma, there she is. Emma, everybody said lunch was good. With that, I want to also thank the Regional Council for releasing our FTIP and Connect SoCal Amendment 2 for public review. I just want to emphasize that public review period is from July 6th through August 4th. If you could help us spread that information so that folks will take a look at those documents and send us their comments. The last item I want to raise with you is present to you is just an element of pride. We conducted our very first cohort of the Future Leaders Initiative, which is where we brought together young folks 18 to 24, and we had about 200 applicants. We were only able to take 24 of them, and it was an incredible time that we spent with them over the last 6 months. And really, it's an opportunity for us to begin to bring young people into the work that we do, given that we have this responsibility and stewardship to look to create the vision for the future that they are going to inherit. And so it was a real tremendous privilege to bring those young folks, and we want to continue to engage them. And I want to thank many of you who had the opportunity to spread that word and help us bring those young folks to the table. So the session ended this last month, and we hope to continue because we got a lot of positives from it. And with that, I'm going to stop and end my remarks, Mr. President, and see if there are any questions.
Any questions?
I think Mr. Sanchez.
No, member comment. Future agenda item
Daniel?
comment.
No, I do just have a quick comment on what Kome just reported out. I do appreciate the amount of effort and commitment that SCAG is taking in investing in our future. SCAG, when it comes to planning, it might start with SCAG, but it ends with our future. So thank you guys for taking the time and investing in that.
Thank you, Dana. Mr. Comey, real fast, we had a leadership academy, or whatever we called it. Is there any one person there that's going to be involved in any future?
Yeah, in fact, one of the members of the first cohort, we're going to have them be part of our Connect SoCal subcommittee. So you'll see a young face around the table, and we're hoping that they will vigorously participate in the process.
Okay, I'm going to close this out real fast. Do we have any future agenda?
I thought I was the young face, Kome, already.
And me too. All right. Do we have any future agenda items? Mr. Sanchez?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Romans had a saying, the further a government is from its people, the harder it is to understand their needs. I've been on this SCAG for just about 3 years or so. Have we ever discussed traveling meetings? I bring it up mainly because while I recognize why we're here in LA, politically it makes sense, right? The largest city in the county, as you are the state. But geographically, it doesn't make sense as we have 6 counties that represent SCAG. And in order for this body, we heard folks from West Hollywood a little bit ago. I live in La Quinta. I've passed through West Hollywood, maybe, but I don't understand their needs. I can't tell you when the last time I've been to Ventura County or vice versa, right? Who's been to Blythe? Who's been to Desert Hot Springs? But we're asked to make policy decisions on regions without ever having really driven through those areas, let alone their counties. And I think it would benefit the board, the commission, the regional council, to have a shared ownership of the public, of the policy making of the region, and really better understand and actually have better local engagement. If we can, quote unquote, take the show on the road. Obviously, we have the technology to do it because annually we meet in the great city of Palm Desert. So the infrastructure is there. It's just a matter of planning. But I would like for us to bring up either as a topic for discussion with the entire body, if we would support, quote unquote, a traveling meetings to the different counties each month or every other month. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Just, we do mobile workshops. As a matter of fact, we've been talking about going to Needles within the next couple months. So that's a great idea. Maybe we'll bring it back for discussion. But thank you for bringing that up. Appreciate that. Okay, my last thing, any announcements? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to make sure that as a body, we get prepared to celebrate 250 years of our country. Have the special opportunity for anyone that isn't getting enough patriotism in their lives, that at the Reagan Library, the Steel Across America from the Tunnels of Towers exhibit has just arrived last night, and it'll be there through July 8th. And so it's free and open to anyone that wants to come, and it's a very moving remembrance of the thing that happened 25 years ago. And so you're all invited to Simi Valley and have a great and happy 4th of July.
Thank you. Again, ditto with that. Have a great and safe 4th of July. And this meeting now is adjourned. Thank you.